Hey Roger Federer, how are you? You're probably wondering why this screen is, well, it's black on the edges and then a little bit reddish, yellowish, blackish in the middle. Probably wondering why. Maybe, maybe not. But you guys, Roger Federer, you guys, world, I got a new look. And so I changed my hair. So 1, 2, 3. There it is. Hi guys. Yeah, so Roger, I miss talking to you. I can't even tell you. I totally miss making videos. But I guess when I don't really have much to really add or say or whatever, there's nothing like no fire in the belly to like make a video. Doesn't really make sense to make one. But listen, I'm glad I think you're either in Shanghai right now or on your way to Shanghai. People are excited on Twitter that you decided to play at Shanghai, and I think people at Shanghai are like ready for you too. So, good luck in that match and in that tournament, and I hope everything is well. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm just like making a video. I don't know, just have to make a video. So after I made a video, last time I saw an article where you said that you were feeling wounded, and everyone, ever since you said that, you were feeling wounded and you were feeling a little tired. I think I just sent like a shock to the world, the tennis world. Like, people were really shocked. I think for me, like, when you said you were wounded, I felt really shocked. Like, wow, what happened? What's going on? Why do you feel wounded? So, I don't know, but my sense was that I don't know, why do I feel like the wounded part, and I could be completely and totally wrong, but the wounded part seemed like, I don't know. I don't know why I have this feeling. I'm sorry to like hold off on saying this, but why do I have the feeling like the wounded part just seems like I have the wild feeling. I'm sorry to piss you guys, probably annoy you guys by never getting to the point right here, but I have like the wild feeling that the wounded part has to do with more so like with the negotiations, being president of the tennis association. I still don't know the name of the tennis players association. But I don't know. I don't know why you would use the word wounded, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong that you said it or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, trying to digest or trying to understand what you said and seeing what you had gone through the tournament. For me, the word wounded seemed like something more that would apply to you've been working hard and people haven't been appreciating you, and I feel like you kind of, from what I can see from the outside as an outsider, not having much exposure, from what I've seen, like, you've really been trying to make changes and trying to keep a healthy relationship between the, I want to say USTA, I didn't mean to say USTA, I want to say the ATP and the players. And I just remember the way that everyone was erupting, Davidenko, he went off on this rant about, as a matter of fact, like, distastefully bringing up the fact that because you are from Switzerland, that your attitude is neutral. That was just so weird to me, just to say something like that. Like, you know, um, I don't know. It's so weird. Like, in America, you have all this political correctness. It's not to say that America is perfect by any means whatsoever, but it is really funny, the difference sometimes between being able to say something about someone's country and their attitude based on their culture or whatever, and then um, hearing, I guess, the relationship between the European countries and different things like that, the way that you sometimes, I don't want to totally generalize or have anybody misunderstand me thinking that I'm saying all Europeans do this or whatever, but just the way you hear sometimes some French people talk about the British, the way you hear the British sometimes talk about the Americans, or and that is so on and so forth. But anyway, I don't want to bore you with all that. So anyway, Davydenko, he just really sort of was very vocal. I know Rafa was upset, but Rafa had a little bit more tact, it seemed to me. And then there were a few other guys I can't remember at this point, and were just feeling like you weren't being, I guess you could say, aggressive enough, but at the same time, I mean, being aggressive doesn't always apply, just being aggressive doesn't apply, or is not exactly effective in negotiations. You have to be smart. You have to channel your aggressive action into some sort of smart, strategic, but also diplomatic behavior. And I think that being diplomatic is what you have been. And the way the guys are just, the way the guys have been all throughout the season, like with little eruptions here and there with the attitude. And I understand that people being upset and stuff like that. Again, I'm not trying to take away from the men on tour. As you can hear, and this is New York City here. It's so noisy. So pardon all the noise. But somebody, some psycho will probably be walking around on the street below in a few minutes, either dropping the F-bomb or just saying something else crazy. That's New York City for you. So anyway, don't be alarmed is my whole point. Okay, have I been talking about anything? Oh God. So I just really felt like the guys, I felt like they kind of a little bit ganged up on you, and I feel like, maybe some of the guys feel a little bit more upset because, maybe their financial situation and they have to deal with a lot of discomfort due to their financial situation, and maybe and this is not saying anything against you, but you have probably, I would imagine, I'm just going to say, yeah, let's just speak the truth. You have much more of a financial cushion. Things are not that urgent for you. They're not that vital necessarily. But I don't really want to 100% say that what I said is 100% correct, because I don't know what your life is like and I don't know what your financial life is like. But I'm just saying, I assume to some extent that is relevant, what I said. And so the other guys are, it's no reflection on you. It's not your fault, or anything like that. But it's just the way that it is. Like, some of these guys are, I imagine, just sort of even sometimes scraping, possibly from paycheck to paycheck. I don't know if it's that rough for the guys on tour, but, with all of the expenses, maybe it is. So when you said you were wounded, I just wondered if that was what it was. That, it seems like you've been trying to make moves, and you've been trying to do it in a respectful way, which makes sense, because if Davydenko, imagine if he were president and he jumped in with the attitude he had at the top of the year, I think he would just piss a lot of people off. And on top of that, I mean, he has been a top-ranked player, but he hasn't really done much this year significantly. If you really look at numbers and you want to start negotiating for more money, people are going to start looking at TV ratings. They're going to start looking at results. How many butts do you put in the stadium? How many butts do you get in the seat? I'm sorry to talk like that, but I mean, really, it's that bold. Like, if you're not putting butts in the seat, I'm sorry, then you chill with your attitude. So he could go all off and just mouth off all he wants to, and he may be right about a lot of things for himself. I'm not taking away from Davydenko or anything like that, just talking about his attitude. But, so I just feel like, the guys sort of, this is what I really feel. I feel like these guys, they gather together in the locker room, they feed off of each other, they don't really sit down to a real conclusion. They're just a little bit, to me, it seemed like they're a little bit more interested in blowing off steam than being productive, and that's the difference between you and them. And yes, that's the difference between you and them. And I'm going to tell you, the difference between you and them is because people who give out endorsements look at attitude. They look at, how can I work with this person? Can this person sell? Yes. How is this person in their personal life? stable? Or do they have an attitude? How's this person on the court? Do they have an attitude? What's their attitude ratio? People look at those things, and then when you don't, you sit there. Some of these guys sit there and go, "Oh, I don't have any money," and la 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 la. And Roger Federer is okay with everything. Roger Federer is okay with everything because number one, he works hard. Number two, he has a good attitude. Number three, you don't hear him bitching. Bitching and being bitter. And I'm not saying that bitching and being bitter is necessarily a bad thing some of the time, but the way that it was, going about this year was a little bit too much. So I don't know if I'm like reading off into my own thing, Roger. You could be like, what the hell is she talking about? When I said I was wounded, it meant something else. It didn't even mean all of that. But I don't know. It's just a wild hunch, and I'm way, 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 way out on a limb just assuming that this is what the wounded part was about. And I could be completely wrong, completely. But I feel like, you try to do things and you try to do things in a professional manner, and, maybe everything can't happen. All these changes that these guys wanted can happen overnight, but a lot of them weren't patient, and then a lot of them were completely unprofessional about it. And then you hear all the complaining. It's never from the top ranked players, never from the guys who are really grinding to freak out, beating up the top guys and staying at the top of their game so that they can remain consistent. It's always from these lower ranked guys, and I'm not saying that with any disrespect because there's so many guys from ranked number one down to 100 or whatever. Like, I can name a handful of guys who I really like for instance, and this is no reflection, I'm not saying anything about this person, but I actually like Victor Troicki. I remember he was like 100 something in the world. I think one year I saw him playing at Wimbledon against Nadal, and I really just liked his game. I like the way he played. And then I think after that year, he went up into 75. And, there's like these guys on tour that you actually like. I like him, I hope he moves up in the rankings. He's talented. Gulbis, I don't have to necessarily say Gulbis' attitude too much is the greatest, but, perhaps someone could say that about me in different situations throughout my life here and there, but not that my attitude was like Gulbis, but I'm just saying. But, Gulbis is a great player. Like, I wish he were more on point. He would be just another ingredient to make tennis ridiculously interesting. So, anyway, just to say, like, there are a lot of guys out there, and when Cilic came on the scene, too, Cilic is much higher ranked, but when Cilic came on the scene, for me, I think I saw him at Wimbledon back in 2008 or 2007 for the first time. I think it was 2008. Yeah, I think so. Good guys, like, these guys are great. So it's not to say, oh, the lower ranked guys have no say in anything like that, but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, what kind of results are you producing? Because the performance brings in the revenue. The performance gets the butts in the seat. The performance is what brings in the money. The performance is what gets, the top performance is what gets the ratings, what gets people turning on their television and not lifting the remote to turn to another channel. So, there are all those things. So I guess I'm like really rambling on, Roger, just to say that I feel like, whether you feel wounded over this or I'm completely imagining it and you're like, what the hell? And she just made up this complete weird story over one word, one sentence I said. I think I've just been silently kind of feeling since the top of the year, these guys have been giving you all like just giving you not a fair shake, being hard on you. And then on top of that, it was like Rafa decided to leave his post. And, leaving his post, I know Rafa knew that was really going to be upsetting. Perhaps that wasn't upsetting for you. I can't really speak for you. But when there's tension like that in a corporate structure, which I'm just going to say a corporate structure because it's not actually something that's on the court, and then that eruption that he had, when he said something, even though he apologized at the top of the year, I'm sure his feelings didn't necessarily change, but just apologized because maybe he shouldn't have gone about expressing himself that way, which was very nice of him to apologize. Back at the Australian Open, of this year, 2012. But yeah, I just feel like, his leaving, like, that had to have been, like, really freaking awkward. That had to leave a void, a weirdness, an awkwardness, a complete vacuum in the structure. And it just, just be sort of, while in the middle of different negotiations and things like that, that he, such a high-ranked player, also would just leave in the middle of something like that, and at the time of a disagreement is a little bit, that was really disorienting, I think, and probably could have put a lot of stress on you. I can't really speak for you, but I imagine, I think all of us as people, we've been in situations, and there's nothing like really trying to put together something, really trying to negotiate, and then you're dealing with attitudes and personalities and people not showing up, people not doing their end of the bargain, all types of weirdness and anger and stuff like that, and then people not being collective or not wanting to work together or be patient, and sometimes it just seems like people are, their own worst enemy, and sometimes they're just an agent of chaos instead of just really coming toward a solution. They just do little things to just undermine it, whether they consciously or unconsciously know it. So this is why I say all of this. I feel like, that leaving, walking away like that, at the top of the year was probably a little bit disorienting. But then again, maybe it wasn't for you because you actually went on to win the most titles this year. You were the most effective this year overall. So maybe perhaps that, maybe you're watching this video and kind of like, no, didn't bother me. So, yeah, but, I also feel like, the Madrid situation, was like another eruption, Rafa, again, kind of just curiously and bizarrely over the edge on the fact that the surface had been changed, the clay surface had been changed to blue. Now, I understand, again, about the surface being slippery. I understand that the organizers of the Madrid Mutual Open or whatever it is, they really should have tried to get more players involved, and I think they get that. I think they got that. When they saw people slipping and sliding around and stuff like that, they should have gotten the players a little more involved. But the way that it was so upsetting to Rafa was just a little bizarre. And I know Rafa kind of has his quirks, like he needs his one bottle on the left and one bottle on the right, and have to be completely parallel, apparently. But I'm not gonna trash Rafa or anything, but I'm just saying, like, maybe that's some of his personality, that he needs things a certain way or else, But that was another eruption, this season. So I feel like those things were upsetting, and could be upsetting, and also just cause a lot of tension in the relationship, because I feel like your opinion of those situations were in contrast to his. I agree more with your opinion, but I agree with his opinion, being a little thrown off with the clay being slippery. I could see being annoyed about that, but complaining about it, probably for me personally, what may have been a bit of a challenge. But Roger Federer, handled it really well, and I think that's a difference that goes across the board between the way these guys are handling, and I'm referring again back to the Davydenko and these other lower ranked players. Like, they really need to check their attitude a little bit more and realize that their attitude will bring in a little more endorsements sometimes, like just tweaking your own attitude a little bit might bring in couple more dollars, and people notice these things, and they don't want to work with you, if your attitude is a certain way on court or whatever. They notice things about you, and people want to work with people who are easygoing, who are hardworking, who will show up on time, who can roll with the punches, who can, go to something like, Madrid and not get all annoyed and all thrown off over the court being changed a different color, or it even being a little slippery, and still could end up pulling out the win over such difficult and annoying circumstances, like you, Roger Federer. And I think you pull in a little bit of jealousy. You know, I feel like these guys are, I don't want to say, oh my God, they're jealous of you, but maybe I do feel that way a little bit. You know, and as a matter of fact, I can't lie. My conclusion is that to a certain extent, there's a little bit of animosity maybe on that edge too. Like, oh, you know, everything is okay for you on tour. Oh, you know, Roger Federer, you know, you're calm about this, you're calm about that. There's nothing to be calm about. And I just feel like, I can't really speak for Davydenko, but I'm just saying, you know what, to the guys in the ATP, like this is the impression you're giving off, given everything that's going on, all your little comments, including what's his name? I can't think of his name now. Who kicked that stand over in what was it, in the, was it Eastbourne or something like that? And he ended up having a one of the lines persons like bleeding or something, like in the shin or something. I forget who that was right now. He's a pretty good player too. I forget who it was at the moment, but you know, all of those little things, down to Jill Simone, down to Davydenko again complaining about 5 sets. How the men should be playing 3 sets, and how Federer, you know, just going out of his way to say, oh, Federer would probably agree. You know, first at the top of the year, you were this Swiss man who's neutral and everything or whatever. Ugh, it's even just disgusting to say. And now you're this person who agrees, you know. So it's got to be one or another. Either you have an opinion, either Roger Federer has an opinion or he doesn't, you know. So whatever. But getting back to all of that, it led me to really think, I just haven't had time to make a video, but I was just like, you know, one of the things, you know, as you're going on into the so-called, I hate to say it like this, but the so-called final quarter of your career. So you can take your career as far as you want, but, you know, feel like this is like these are like the years where you're looking to sort of wind down in your career a little bit. Not that you'll ever stop playing tennis 100% or you'll ever stop being really good at it, but just that you're kind of, you know, have other goals in life and stuff like that, I suppose. And I heard you guys want to have more kids, and that's so sweet. That's so cute. I can't wait for you guys to have more kids, actually. That would be so sweet. Anyway, so yeah, so as you start winding down and you really want to end at a high level of performance and you really want to just push your legacy over the top, absolute top, even more so than what it's been now, which is completely astronomically great. I just kind of felt like, I was like, you know what? I just feel like Roger doesn't need all these damn headaches. You know, these guys, you know, griping together seemingly in the locker room, being passive aggressive, and I'm imagining all of this, but I really feel that I'm right. It's being passive aggressive toward you, like uniting in their own little way because you haven't, as president, cursed somebody out or kicked some doors down, you know, as if that would have gotten anything done, you know, like, I just feel like, you know what, I feel like to a certain extent, and you know, the whole thing, Rafa leaving his post, you know what, he should have been standing side by side with you. If not anybody else, Rafa should never have left, you know, and I can't really speak for, maybe he has some personal reasons to leave or stuff like that, but just the reasons that I know in general and the conditions under which he left, I feel like that's no reason to just up and leave like that. You know, he should have been stuck around, you know, and leaving over the fact that you're not going to have amend the ranking system so that there's a 2-year consideration before dropping in the rankings. I mean, Rafael, so many people are trashing you over that, like, you know, really, people are just trashing you online, like, you know, so don't destroy all your own personal legacy, Rafa, by doing something like that, because people are looking at you sideways for really wanting to do something like that, and it's not wanting to do something like that, it's number one, wanting to do something like that, and then number two, getting upset with Federer indirectly about it. You seem, you know, what people are thinking is you seem whiny. You seem like a baby. You seem like a little cheater who can't handle his own. People call you a cheater. I don't know why. You seem like somebody who gets outdone by guys bigger than you, and you can't hold your wins, even though you've managed to win so much. So I mean, you don't need people talking about you like that, Rafa. So I mean, just stop with the 2-year thing and just hold your own, and that's it. And take care of your knees and give us a reason to believe that you are injured. Don't leave under strange conditions. Be a little more transparent with what happened, what type of injury. Don't just suddenly lose it. Looking in top form and in great shape at Wimbledon, and then just disappear for 4 months. And this is not to say that you're a liar, but this is just to say don't give people a reason to call you a liar or a cheater, or just leaving at a time where it's convenient and where Federer and Djokovic are playing at the top of their game and stuff like that. And Federer may even have a chance to gain some of his some so-called redemption, public redemption, but that's just a myth overall anyway. But I'm just saying. So anyway, I'm really talking a lot. But Roger, I'm sorry. What I was gonna say is, if it's gonna be like this with these guys and no one can be really productive, I just really kind of suggest overall, and if this is really doing nothing for you, and it doesn't serve any personal purpose or true personal fulfillment, that you leave your post as president of the ATP, because you really don't need these headaches, and all this emotional drain and all this weird interaction and tension, indirect tension from other players. You don't need whatever's going on in the locker room. And I'm totally imagining that, but I feel like I freaking know people. I know when they try to group together and undermine you, when they're pissed at you in a group, which through the media we were able to see a lot of people were upset with you, but I feel like you stood your ground and you were looking out for the best for the lower ranked players. And you know what? It's commendable. It's honorable. And I'm glad as a person that you could stand your ground against so many people without wavering, because there are not many people in this world who can stand on their own 2 feet and go, no, this isn't right, guys. And that's a problem with people. They're nothing but sheep, a lot of them. And sometimes they know things are clearly wrong, and they're just so damn afraid to just say, no, this is wrong, and that's that's the type of people I can't deal with. I'd rather deal with someone who's just a straight ass than someone who's a coward. I'm serious. Coward people are the worst people to be around. They are dangerous. They'll do anything to survive. They will throw anybody under the bus to survive. But I'd rather have somebody who's like, no, I'm not doing this. I'd rather have somebody to deal with who I know can stand on their own convictions. So I'm glad that you are able to stand on your own 2 feet. So, I mean, this is something I could totally, again, be imagining, but I really don't think I'm not. I really trust my analytical ability. I mean, I probably could be wrong on certain things, but I think overall what I'm saying is relevant. But, I just feel that the emotional drain, the emotional toll, is something that you just don't need. You don't need the headache. What you need to do is be able to step on court, focus, win the match, step off court. Go be with Mirka, go be with the girls. Have fun, do the media stuff, on to the next, into practice, tweak whatever's necessary, and on to the next match. That's what you need to do. You don't need to be worried about people who are non-productive, who are handling situations in a non-productive manner, who are, instead of even bothering to professionally meet with someone, complaining in the media and things like that, and a whole bunch of guys, including the way Jill Simone came out, it's just so, it's all unprofessional. It's all unprofessional, the way they're handling it, and you don't need it, and I think it's just fueling some of their anger towards you, unfairly. So that's how I feel. I feel like if you don't have any personal stake in this, that you should just leave it. I mean, you are straight. That's how I feel. Like, you got your endorsement. You have your public respect. You're doing your thing. And I noticed there's some recent developments as well with the ATP. I think I saw an article yesterday where they're going to start looking at raising the pay rate, what was it? It's like 22,000 if you go out in the first round, 33,000 if you go out in the second round. Great, I'm happy. You know, people do deserve to get paid. It's a tough tour. It's very long. You know, I totally get it, and once people start getting paid properly, then all the ugliness will go away. Like beating up on the women's tour, you know, trashing them, feeling resentful. Like once people are getting paid and they feel like they're not constantly in an uncomfortable position, then a lot of the hostility will go away. And I feel like you've been a part of that, and probably a lot of these guys are coming around to the end of the year and seeing like, okay, you know what, we should have just given Roger just a little bit more of a chance. And now I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I'm just going based on what I've seen in the news and with my own experience, my own interpretation, my own hunch, and with the information and data that's been presented to me through attitudes, through the media, through other sources. So anyway, at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, if this is going to continue on, if negotiations are not going to be like settled by January, it'd be, you know, I don't know if this is right for you, but I mean, you know, let's just say like I'm a really good friend of yours, and I'm just like, you know what, I don't feel like you need this. I don't feel, and what I'm saying is I don't feel like you need the headache. You know, this is a lot. It takes a lot of focus to just maintain number one in the world, and you don't need the extra emotional BS from other people who are going to be unproductive. If the guys are going to continue on like with these flare ups every couple of months and stuff. So we'll see what happens. I'm happy, and congratulations to the guys, you know, and to you for negotiating clearly. Just being part of a process that has people moving forward and paying the players and wanting to increase the salaries and things like that. So something digestible where people can actually probably live comfortably. So great. But if there's a lot more significant negotiation to go on, Roger, and these guys are still unhappy, I would say, you know, this post isn't doing anything for you. And were you in the post just to make sure that your own interests were taken care of, which I can understand? I would just say leave the post, you know. And I know that I was saying that this is something totally different from what Rafa did, you know, not leaving the post in the middle of tension. Well, actually, that probably sounds like I'm contradicting myself. But just really trying to find someone, recruit someone who is going to be fair, who's going to be objective, get them in the position, and then just focus for the rest of your career because you want to go to the Olympics in 2016. There's a lot that you want to do, and maybe you even want to play beyond that and effectively, you know, and you can do this, but all this extra emotional crap, you know, you don't need it, and it's just going to drain you, and, you know, you don't need to be the source of hostility, you know what I mean, like people giving you the side eye in the locker room, and I'm not saying that's happening, but I do believe that probably did happen on some level. Just based on, especially some of the stuff Jill Simone said, I was just like, oh, these guys, they're like getting together in the locker room, and then there's higher ranked players complaining, you know, and things like that. So whatever. But yeah, I would definitely suggest that, and then that way you don't have to worry about all this extra crap. Let somebody else fight those battles. Maybe right now is not the right time. So I was wondering if when you said you were going to reevaluate something, was it going to be that? You know, because that seems like a source of stress and tension, again. Now, getting on to the actual tennis part, 33 freaking minutes. Whoa. Oh, my God. This girl can talk. The kid can talk, man. She can talk. It's like a whole stream. It's like my brain like has a whole streamline of thinking, and it's just blah, 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 blah. That's what it is. So, looking at everything today. It's over 300 weeks. Oh my God, since you held the number one ranking, Roger. Congratulations on that. Oh, so much love for you. Seriously, so proud of you, Roger. Congratulations on that. I don't think that's a record that's going to stay for many, 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 many years to come. There's going to have to be an anomaly of a player to ever bring down that record. And when somebody does, it'll be a contribution to you and to humanity, as far as the sportsman's spirit, clearly what it takes to be able to maintain a number one ranking for over 300 weeks and stuff like that. And so it's all beautiful. It's all beautiful. And but nobody's taking that record down anytime soon, Roger. You're probably gonna be like 60 or something like that, sitting in the stairs like Rod Laver. Just don't loom around like Rod Laver, because like sometimes I feel like Rod Laver, with all due respect, like he looks a little bit bitter himself, sitting up in the stands, like sort of secretly hoping that somebody doesn't break his record. Like he's kind of like hovering around. And I felt like Borg was kind of doing that. Like, I forget when that was. God, I think it was Wimbledon 2008. I think Borg, it was either Wimbledon, yeah, I think it was Wimbledon 2008. Like, either you were going to break a record of Borg's, or Rafa was going to break a record of Borg's. And supposedly, I think McEnroe has said that Borg preferred that Rafa's record be broken through that final, or whatever. I could be wrong. I know that I'm right about what I said, but I don't know if I'm right about the tournament. But Borg was just like hovering around, like in the stands with that kind of energy, like he's hovering, like. So anyway, but I know, Roger Federer, you will never be like that. So anyway, whatever. Look, congratulations on 300, and many more to you. So happy for you, Roger. So I think, just moving forward, like, it seems like after you had said you felt wounded and you felt a little tired and stuff like that, it seemed like you bounced back the following week. Like, it just seemed like it was just a little bit of a tough thing, the U.S. Open thing with Berdych and all. But it seems like you're feeling all right now from what I gather. And congratulations, Davis Cup, too. So good job. So I guess now just all that needs to be done is just, for next year, not even next year, but I cannot wait for the ATP World Tour Finals. Dude, I hope, oh my God, I want to say I hope you win. I just look forward to you taking that again. It just seems like your tournament, and it's a great way to, like, end the season. So, like, what are you doing about that? Like, what are you looking at? You know what I mean? Like, you have Murray. Murray's kind of probably feeling confident again. It's like a London. Damn, I just thought about that. It's like another London event. So, they'll really be, for Murray, he might be feeling a little more confident, might be coming a little bit out of his shell, his little low self-esteem thing, or whatever the hell it is. And, yeah, so like, looking at some extra stuff to just keep Murray in line, He's a good player and all, but, you could keep him in line. So just, like, looking at extra strategy and stuff. And feel free to go back to my video. I think it's like when I had the little London shirt on or whatever with the heart, and then I had like a red headband or something like that. That video where I was talking about strategy and get out of jail card and things like that. And remember I was talking about when you're at the sixth game, I think, or the fifth or the sixth game in the first set, like, kick it up so you could start, making a move toward taking the first set, and then in the eighth game, kick it up again, so you could just start making a move or whatever, and then in the first game of the second set, just kick it up or whatever. But you can go back to that video and take a look. And I think employing some of that stuff against Murray is what's going to help as well. What also is interesting is, well, no, let me not jump over to that real quick, but Djokovic also said today that he wants to come back to world number one as his goal to end world number one by the end of the season. And, that's all interesting and good for Joker. You know what I mean? He's an awesome player as well. And I really wanted more for Joker than what he's been able to get. Nah, I don't want him to beat you or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, anybody under you, I pretty much want him to beat. Um, it's unfortunate his granddad passed away this year. Maybe that was a little bit, that obviously clearly was something that probably threw him off a little bit throughout, after Monte Carlo. But he wants to end at world number one. So, I think it's just like looking at where you are, Roger, like remembering like what an amazing season you had and knowing what you could do, knowing like you are performing at a high level, you're performing at a top level. These guys are afraid of you, and they're good guys too, but they know the deal. I'm gonna paste the link to a Nadal video. Look at this, I'm going over 40 minutes. I don't care. I need to talk. It's probably gonna be like a 50-minute video. This is crazy. Whew, this is crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna post a link. I saw this video yesterday with Rafa, and he was talking about your win over him at the ATP World Tour Finals. I think it was 2010, and he was talking about the conditions that you play in and how under those conditions you will always win against him, and that if those were the same conditions at anywhere, you were going to win over him. So he's essentially saying you're a better player, which is the truth. I mean, Rafa's a good player and all, but I think these guys know at the end of the day, Roger, you are freaking better than them. You know what I mean? They can do little things to get around you and stuff like that, and that's what they do. That was evident to me, so especially with Rafa. So I really want to post that. I'm going to post that. Please take a look at it. It's, maybe like a 5-minute long video. So just please take a look at that. And again, just getting back to what I was saying before, like in general, just take a tally of where you are and where everyone else is. Like, just remember what you've done this season. Like, I think last season after the U.S. Open, you were undefeated. And then by the time I think March came around, if I remember correctly, you had won 9 of 12 tournaments. You had already had 4 titles, I believe. So, and you had a better record than, you were number 3 in the world at the time, but you had a better record than Rafa and Djokovic, who were number 2 and number 1. Yeah, number 2 and number 1 in the world. So, just remember where you are, Roger. You know what I mean? Like, really remember where the hell you are. Like, don't get into this story. Don't get drawn off into this whole retirement at 31 and and how many more does he have in him and la 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 la. Just think performance. Just think numbers. What you've been doing, Of course, every time, you get to tournaments, if you don't stay on top of this like a pit bull, there are going to be those potential sharks in the water like Berdych, like Del Potro. Even above them will be the Tsongas of the tennis world. Those guys who, they're the ones who could potentially give you any player that whammy. You know what I mean? And anything can happen. Like, again, look at what happened with Rafa at Wimbledon, Lucas Rosal, just kind of bizarrely out of the blue, just completely knocking Rafa like the hell out of the stadium. Like, home run right out of the entire, not a stadium, makes me think of a baseball stadium, American baseball or whatever, when they actually once in a while hit the ball out of the park. That's kind of how it was. It was just like one of those weird anomalies. So just knowing that, when you do come up against the Berdych and it's not to say Berdych isn't good and Berdych hasn't been a threat. We've always kind of been, like, okay, he's playing against Berdych, let's go. No one can beat him, but, there's always that danger there, and stuff like that. But you've been, dealing with him since the first time I remember was like the Australian Open 2009. That was the first time I think I ever saw Berdych, and I always remember him and Del Potro from next. You had to go through both of them to get to the finals, and they were pretty tough matches. So just know, that those guys, it's not a reflection on on what you're doing. You know, there are times in the past, obviously, when you might have been like not fully engaged or not fully motivated or whatever, and there's things that you could have done about that, you know, but I feel like you've really been working so hard this season, Roger, like ever since after Roland Garros on, like you've been working super hard on the court, and there's times when you know, again, like prime examples, even at the Olympics playing against Faya, you were really in a dangerous position, and I just see you like leaning over, going like this, sort of swaying back and forth, getting ready for Fire to serve the point. I was like, oh, look at him, like he's really in the moment. So I'm so proud of you, Roger. Like, you know, there are times when you can see in your body language, like, oh, he's handling that so well. So just know that, Roger, know how well you're doing, and really get a grip on that. And don't let the short-sightedness of the news and the media, and it's no disrespect to them, but you know, they've written you off in the past, and then it's like, now you've won Wimbledon, and now you can win so many more Grand Slams, and then as soon as you lose, you know, any other tournament, it's going to be like, oh, this is the end. So, I mean, you've really got to throw that crap out, you know. It's tough because people are putting it in your face, and they're asking you questions about it, but this is why I tell you, like, you need a mental support system, you know. You need someone to help you transform that stress. And it's not to say like, oh, you don't know how to sort through your own thoughts and feelings. That's something different. But when you're dealing with yourself on a world level, where you're dealing with millions of different people judging you on a global platform and things like that, like, you need a team to support you. And that's why I was been recommending Michael Gervais, you know, all season long. So, or if it's not Michael Gervais, get somebody else who's, you know, one of those great sports experts. And if you want to learn more about Michael Gervais, just go back to my other videos. Right around Wimbledon, just go back to my other videos. One where I was in yellow, and then there was another one where I did the video on the phone and I put it up to the camera. Anyway, so I think it's pinnacle-pro.com, Michael Gervais, Gervais. But, I mean, you know, that's some of the stuff that you need to, like, you know, you need to have a support system, just like you may have a nutritionist, just like you have a fitness expert, you know. You need someone to help with this, you know. And I would never tell you to do it if I wouldn't do it myself. You know, as a matter of fact, I really wish I could take a couple of courses with Michael Gervais. You know, I really wish, like, there's some people, but it seems that he only works with professionals. So it is what it is. But, man, if I could really afford it, I'd put myself in a workshop of his. And I would tell him I want to get on a treadmill, and I want to go until I'm really, really tired. And I want you to just work on me while I'm tired, while I'm trying to keep the same pace up. Because it's the mind that starts, like, breaking down. And I just need, you know, that's how I feel. So that's why I push, you know. I know you don't have the same issues, clearly. You know, each person is different. So maybe that's not a good example for you. But you need the support here, you know. You really need that support, and you need that morale. Because losing a Burditch and then looking the way you did, you know, you need someone who's going to help you work on your mental fitness, Roger. And I don't think you've done it. I don't think you feel you need to do it, maybe, since you haven't done it. But it would be great for you to just really start doing that and seeing how it's really going to help. It's really going to help, you know. So, yeah. So getting back to tally of where you are and where everyone else is, Roger. You know, that is just knowing how great you did this season, and that you're performing at a top level. You look fantastic to me, the best at Cincinnati, playing against Joker. You looked just at the top of your game, and you can totally continue to beat these guys. So now, the tally is, you know, where you are, and now I also see where everyone else is, and I think the number one priority is where's Joker right now, you know, like, what's he doing, you know, I think you should be figuring out strategy as well on how, if you come up against him, how are you going to be playing him to disable him, to disarm him, and to retain your spot, because he's determined now at this point. And it's all good, you know. It's just the same way you were when you dropped down to number 2 or whatever. You won that number 1 spot back, and that's what he wants. And it's all good. You could just understand that. It's just the name of the game. Like, once you've been in that number 1 spot, you want it back. You know, and he's only about 400 points away from you, so naturally he wants the spot back. So, nothing to be afraid of. It's the same dynamic of competition. You'd have to compete with him anyway. He'll always want to beat you. He'll always want to beat everyone. And that's the way everyone feels. Just like you'll always want to beat him, you know, and you'll always want to beat everyone you're playing against. So it's just the name of the game. It just comes with the territory. So that's what he wants to do. So what are you doing to tighten up against that? And 2, Murray. You know, you got ATP World Tour Finals once again in London, which falls in his favor a little bit. You know, he's feeling good. He did pretty well at Wimbledon, runner-up at Wimbledon, gold medal at the Olympics. You know, everyone thinks he's so great now. I don't know why, because he cried, dropped a few tears. I'm sorry. You know what? Maybe Murray's a nice person in general. I mean, I imagine either he's got a lot of money. I'm being like super cruel right now, because I just look at his attitude and I'm like, he's been with the same girl for a couple of years. Like, how does that work? Because he just seems like a damn drag. I'm sorry. I'm being super cruel right now and super hostile, but I guess I'm kind of keeping it real. He just doesn't seem too happy. I know it seems like he's been wounded and has issues in his past, so I'll try to give him space for that. So number 2, Murray, seeing where he is. How are you going to, you know, if you go up against him, what are you going to do? Number 3, Rafa. Rafa's planning on shooting coming back in December. I don't know what's up with Rafa, but he's just got something up his sleeve. You know, Amara Gross said Rafa must be going crazy. Like, Rafa's not the person who could sit around all day. I think he would probably lift a gun to his head and shoot himself if he had to just sit and not practice and not be able to play. I just don't really think he's as injured as he says he is, but he could be, and all due respect to him, you know, I'm sure there's some significant injury to a certain extent, but I don't think it's as grave as taking all these many months off. And I could be wrong, and everyone would probably say, you're such an ass for saying that, but I don't know. Again, it just didn't sit right with me the way that he didn't give me any real way out of the doubt box. You know, give me a ladder to climb out of the doubt box by telling me what happened, by making it seem a little more legitimate and less curious as to how this injury occurred. And I know he's had problems with his knees and stuff like that, but it's the same thing again in like 2009. People online are like, oh, Rafa was injured, that's why he couldn't make it to the finals. Like, there are a lot of Rafa fans who say that, and all due respect to Rafa fans, but that's a little bit of bull too, because Rafa looked good playing in the damn semis to me against Soderling. You know, maybe he was slightly off, but I seem to remember that after losing to Soderling in 2009, I believe it was, he went on to play 2 exhibition matches. I forget where, and then he decided to pull out of Wimbledon. I think he pulled out of Wimbledon shortly after the draw came out, but I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to say anything more. I'll leave it at that. But, yeah, so just seeing, like, number 4, like, where Rafa is, and then number 3, where Rafa is, and then number 4, where everyone else is, you know, like, just making sure you tighten up your game against Berdych and just tighten up your mental focus against Berdych. You know, in my last video, those 3 videos series, part 1, 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, I talked about Berdych saying, Roger Federer, there's something in my game that he doesn't like, because Roger likes to dictate the points. Roger likes to have time. So, you know, Roger, can you learn how to play, you know, if people are not giving you time? Can you learn how to play under that and not get thrown off about it? And then, you know, if you're not able to dictate points, can you come up with good defensive skills, even though you're fantastic defensively? And, you know, all that good stuff. So it's just all about that. Like, this is just, like, just tweaking and lifting to the next level, tweaking and lifting to the next level, because that's what these guys are doing, tweaking, lifting to the next level, and that's how they're able to, sometimes pull out the win against you. So, it's just all about that. It's not you doing a bad job. It's about that tweaking and lifting to the next level, tweak, lifting to the next level. And when you have people playing tennis all this time, at this level, and with God knows what kind of motivation, who knows what kind of motivation Berdych needs, maybe he's tired of being, hanging out at the quarterfinals and stuff like that, and semifinals sometimes, and, maybe he wants to make more money for his family. Like I was saying, sometimes maybe some of these guys get pressure from their own country, and some of their countries are smaller, so it's more close-knit, if you ask me, so bringing honor, so-called honor to the country, by winning or getting further in a tournament might be some more motivation, which you might not have. These guys have that motivation coming into the tournament, but you don't have that because you've been winning, so they have a little bit more of an advantage. And then finally, have you thought about possibly getting a new racket? Just curious. Now, I know I've always said it hasn't been right for you, but, yeah. It might not be right for you, but I'm just curious, if you are getting a racket that has strings that are more conducive to putting more spin on the ball and less stress on your body, less having to exert effort to put more pace on balls and things like that, then, it's only going to give you more, if you ask me, more leverage over time as far as extending your career as long and far out. You could take this past, Roger, you could take this in so many directions. You could take this as far as you want to go. Like, where Pete Sampras and Agassi ended up ending their careers at about 33 and stuff like that. That doesn't have to be you. You could be up to 39. Like Connor is still playing at 39, and I always say Connors. I can't think of anybody else. But, really playing effectively. I don't know if you want to play until you're 39, if you want to even do that. Miracle even wants to, whatever your family situation is. But, you never know. And it's 56 minutes. This is sick. I should just keep talking just to see how much I can keep talking. But, yeah, no, good luck. Good luck with everything. And, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. ATP World Tour Finals. I think you should be looking for good strategies and stuff like that. Song looked like he played an amazing match last year. If he had some faith in himself, he'd be even more dangerous. Sanga, I'm not disrespecting you or anything like that, but it's just the truth. It's the same thing. Same issue with Murray, same issue with Monfils, same difference. And as Djokovic was a little bit like that at one point, and then he got faith in himself, and then he was number one for an entire year. So, Roger, at the end of the day, like I was saying earlier in this video, these guys know that you can beat them. So, it's just time to start tweaking and looking. And I think if you take the time to pay attention to see where everyone is in this game, like your key players and stuff like that, maybe, I don't think you're really into that too much. I don't think you're really into patterning your game to beat other players. I think you said that a long time ago, but I think it would be worth it to really just put a little extra strategy in and take a look at your game, take a look at where you've lost, take a look at anything, particularly, example, Berdych. I don't think he made too many errors in that match, but just figuring out what was going on and what you could tweak, because you're a better player than him. So, that's the way you're going to be able to retain, number one. And then, of course, you're usually good about scheduling out your season so that you have the proper amount of rest and things like that. So kudos to you on that. But, this year possibly being a little more strategic as well, like, because you're going to have to defend Dubai, you're going to have to defend Rotterdam, you're going to have to defend, maybe I shouldn't talk about all that right now, but, this is another reason why I always press this thing with the racket, like, again, like, you have people like Rafa. In a couple videos before, I was telling you how Rafa's racket in song, I think they had the Babolat racket or whatever, and so did Andy Roddick or whatever, but they're coming up with this technology where the music outside the windows like throwing me off, but they're coming up with all this technology of with the racket being able to take data like on how well you hit the ball, where you made a mistake, where you underhit, blah blah blah. So things like that. So you're gonna look at what these guys are working up against and what they will do in order to win. So you've got to really look at the difference between that and your performance. It's not your performance, but it's what you're up against. When you're bringing a knife into a gunfight, that's all I'm saying. So maybe you want to consider something with your racket. It may also help you as well as far as just having less physical exertion, a little bit less physical exertion. Even if it's just a small bit per match, that small bit adds up over an entire season, and that can add into longevity, additional longevity and effectiveness in your career. So that's all I'm saying. Like, think about that. Because I know you said you had some priorities and things to think about. But I don't know if you're still feeling that way. It seems like you're feeling a little bit better. But yeah, good luck. And there was one other thing I think I wanted to say. But you believe this freaking video is an hour long? Oh my god, this is sick. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know, something so important, and then I'm going to get off and be like, oh. But I'll just put it in the notes because this is an hour and 21 minutes. Roger, good luck with everything. Hope to speak to you soon. And take good care. Until then, take care. Bye.